Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trunk Reads, and in this video we're going to be doing a quick book review of JFK, The Last Speech. I was sent this book by a marketing agency in exchange for an honest review, which I do anyways. So yeah, let's just get started. Originally I wasn't really... I was almost going to turn this down, however, I remember at the beginning of the year saying, I need to start reading different historical eras and stuff. I love history and everything, as you guys probably know if you've been following the channel. But American history is not an era or a subject that I study hardly at all. I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. 6 books directly on, like, American history, I guess. I have, like, everything. So, not that many, guys. So I was like, this would be a good chance to sort of just try something completely different. And this book was something really different from anything I've really read before. The structure, or the concept of this book, I should say, and there's also an accompanying documentary, I believe, but the concept of this book is really interesting. Basically, John F. Kennedy's last speech as president was at Amherst College in the fall of 1963, and then a couple weeks later, obviously, he was assassinated in Dallas. However, the concept of this book came about on the 50th class reunion of Amherst College, the class of 64, which would have been the seniors who would have seen John F. Kennedy's last public speech. And during their 50th anniversary, they sort of came up with this idea of writing kind of their recollections and thoughts and experiences down into something like a book like this. So I thought that was just really I don't want to say not strange in a bad way. It's just one of the most unique concepts for a book, I guess, I've ever come across, if that makes sense. And basically what the book is, it's divided into a couple different parts and chapters, but essentially it's like 3 or 4 dozen almost like little essays that are put together by topic and subject matter into a book dealing with either John F. Kennedy's speech or kind of what they took from it, how they used it in their life after college. Things like that. And a big driving point of the book also is Robert Frost, the poet, who is right there. John Kennedy and Robert Frost had well, for the most part, they had a friendly relationship until one incident where Frost went over to the Soviet Union and then kind of made a slip up with some of the things he said, kind of put the president in an awkward situation and stuff. However, this book does deal with kind of the background of both President Kennedy and Robert Frost, who was a professor at Amherst for quite a while. Deals a lot with their kind of background and their relationship and stuff, which I thought was really interesting. And the speech that John Kennedy gave at Amherst in 1963 was sort of a, not necessarily a eulogy for Robert Frost, but it was actually a dedication to a new library that was being built and named in honor of Robert Frost. So it was kind of a really interesting sort of mashup of stuff going on there. And a lot of what this speech deals with, one of the main kind of thrust of the speech is the use of the liberal arts and poetry in American society, and how basically the combination of poetry and power. And one of the big takeaways from the book for me is basically poetry obviously is kind of a critique on the use of power and stuff. So one of the quotes that's frequently referred to is, do you use power or does power use you, for example. Now let's get on to the actual subject matter of some of the book. I thought the first part was really good, dealing a lot with sort of the background contextual information of Robert Frost, kind of his academic studies and his early childhood and kind of how he got famous and stuff like that, as well as John F. Kennedy's. And the first part also deals a lot with the personal recollections of who was the seniors of the class of 1964 actually being either in the audience or doing something else, but most of them being in the audience, listening to the president essentially give his last speech. Obviously, they didn't know that at the time, and everything. And then also at the end of the first part is a really cool, if I can find it, is the actual speech here with the president's handwritten kind of editing going on, where he crosses out a lot of stuff and adds different things and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. Just seeing his kind of thought process on why he used certain words and cut out certain things and everything. And now the second part deals a lot with sort of what did these graduating seniors after their college life at Amherst, what did they do sort of with their lives? And a lot of them were influenced heavily by John F. Kennedy. I think there's like 8 or 9 of them who joined the Peace Corps and stuff, and they talk about their experiences, things like that. And then the last part, I want to make sure there's only 3 parts instead of 4. Yes. The third part was probably one of my favorites, dealing sort of, especially the very last chapter of the third part, basically dealing with sort of the importance of a liberal education, which is something I definitely feel strong for, like right now. Obviously, like kind of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics is kind of the big push right now in academia and everything. However, you know, me graduating with history and philosophy, pretty much the 2 most, useless subject matters like ever. Everything, it is nice to see basically how the humanities and like liberal arts and stuff can enrich a person's life, even if they don't, technically use them for work, even though in lots of situations you definitely could. But anyways, some of the critiques I have with the book deal mostly with, since they're all kind of writing about the same experience, especially like in the second part, for example. In the first part, dealing with the actual experience of being at, like, listening to that speech, and sort of their takeaways, is there's a lot of repetition of like the same parts of that original speech, which is only like, I don't know, I think it was like 15 minutes long that he gave, so it was only like 6 or 7, 8 pages, I think, if you read it. So there's like a lot of like reuse of the same for turns of phrases and everything, which is kind of, I guess that's not really a bad thing per se. It was just kind of tiring to read it over and over and over again. But my main critique would be on some of the takeaways and stuff, and kind of their like life after Amherst College, is that a lot of them, like some of them, don't really seem to have that much connection to either the speech or Robert Frost or John F. Kennedy. Like usually it might just be tacked in there somewhere just to kind of be able to include it, I guess. But a lot of them are just sort of, I went on and I started this nonprofit and I was the CEO of this company and I did this and that and, in this field and whatever. And it just, I don't know, it kind of comes across as kind of, I don't want to say not cringy, but it's just sort of like chest beating, I guess, with some of them. Whereas quite a few of the others actually talk about, how they actually, basically wanted to help the president out. Like they actually, heard like a call to action, that sort of thing, and, either join the Peace Corps or whatever it happens to be. Like I said, there's like probably a dozen just on that section, to be honest. But yeah, some of them were just definitely a lot better than others. But I think that's just sort of what you're going to get quite a bit with something like kind of a collection of essays. But like I said, the whole fact that a graduating class reunion of graduates from 50 years ago came together and wanted to create something like this, I thought that was just really cool. But yeah, overall, there's definitely more positives than negatives. I personally, like I said, it's not really a subject matter I'm super interested in, but if you're like interested in kind of the 60s and 70s and kind of the changing of the guard, I guess, with kind of, old American values with, more modern American values and stuff, this would definitely be a really cool book for you. Or if you enjoy reading about Robert Frost, like his life, or President Kennedy's life, this would definitely be a really interesting book to read as well. And like I said, overall, definitely more positives than negatives. I'm probably going to give the book 3.5 stars, maybe round it up to 4 out of 5 stars. But yeah, if this sounds like something you guys like, definitely I encourage you guys to check it out. Like I said, it's just a very interesting concept for a book. Definitely really intriguing in that sense. And whatever you guys end up reading, always remember, read victoriously.